Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining me this Thursday morning for 55 weeks of transformational prayer. And the topic today is about taking pause in prayer. So before we get started, letting everybody come in and join us, if you could just take a moment, anytime that you're watching this broadcast, to just share the broadcast. It really helps with the algorithms of Facebook and allows me to be seen wherever Divine wants to be seen. So if you enjoy it, please share it with your friends. Please like it because that's what gets it to crawl throughout the web and gives us great, especially myself, great feedback. So I hope everybody can hear me. I'm going to try and see. I'm having trouble hearing myself.
And the topic today is about taking pause.
Pause and stop. Okay, sorry. Little technical things. In the beginning, I had audio issues in the very beginning. I'm trying to let go of that worry and trust that it always is working, but it would be silly if I didn't trust that it was working because then you couldn't hear me. So anyways, let's get back to topic. As you know, sometimes I get a little off with my thinking. So I have to take lots of pauses during the day because I have a lot of information coming in throughout the day. Good morning, Polly Joe. Thank you for joining. And Margaret, how are you this morning? Thank you too for joining. Thank you everybody for joining. So the first thing I kind of want to talk about is, I'm going to show you. I'm going to start my timer. This is my best friend since kindergarten. We've been friends that long. Sent me this. So this is my timer. Obviously, a little God wink from The Wizard of Oz, which both her and I love very much. And I know a lot of people that tune in, we have that common interest. So starting my timer to say this is easy. We can spend 20 minutes on ourselves, focus on something and carry it through the week. And hopefully by the end of 55 weeks, we will have this transformational experience. So again, thank you for tuning in today. And I want to thank people that are writing in through the emails. And, your feedback has been wonderful. I'm glad you like the different prayers. It's been easy to mail those out to you. And just thanks for all the wonderful things that you're saying that this is helping. So that makes me feel good. But like I said, this is kind of my journey. It's a divine journey that I'm set on, and I'm just so happy to have people be here and sharing it with me. So again, we will go with pause. So with everything that's been going on in the world, the mind chatter that we have, some of us, are very sensitive to a lot of things coming in, and we have a lot of stress. And sometimes we have so much going on that sometimes the pause, if we just took the pause, we would be able to collect our thoughts a lot easier. And, everything is in movement, and when we're toddlers, we're in movement, and we actually give ourselves pause. We switch from one thing to the next. When we're working and we're really busy and, we go on vacation, that's a pause. That's a pause from our daily life. It's refreshing, it's renewing. And so every pause that we take, no matter what form it is a reset button. And it's kind of funny because, my life just recently has been, a lot of new changes coming in and a lot to take in and work through my day with. But I really love the fact that, in meditation, pause came up for week 4. And I can't believe that this is already week 4. And I'm, like I said, I'm happy in the emails that people are using the words and they're having their own experiences and they're building a relationship through, trust. And it's changing how they look at their day. And I think that's what 2018 is all about. And a lot of us that do spiritual work, we're recognizing that, and we're reaching out to all the communities that we belong to offer that and to build that community. Because the more that we're able to do that and transform, one light at a time, one human conditioning person, right, into that collective whole, waking them up to their light, well, then we're actually affecting change, right? And that's what we want. So we want that transformation. So it starts with us. It actually starts with me. And so I wanted to just explain a little bit the importance of pause in a scientific or more practical way, how it relates to us as human beings, because we have like those two components. We have the physical mind, and then we have the spiritual conscious mind, right? We're both. We're that spirit that comes here to have that human experience. We're in the human body. We are governed by very physical laws, right? So the physical laws of physics that are here on this earth, there are universal laws that are governing us, and we have obviously free will. And so I want to tell you a little bit about your brain and how amazing it really is. Over 4 billion bits of information every second we're aware of, and our brain is subjected to. And we are only really aware of about 2,000 bits of that information. And we have our subconscious is able to take in about 20,000 bits of that and actually, bring it in and sort of look at it in our subconscious mind, which is not in our conscious, because only 40 bits per second come into our consciousness. Once it comes into the conscious part, and I'm not talking about the spiritual higher consciousness, talking about the physical consciousness, like, these are my hands, there's a car in front of me, that type of consciousness. So that only can hold 40 bits of information where it's starting to process. But with that, we break it down, and the brain can only hold the thoughts, okay? So the thoughts, you can only hold of that 40 bits. About 7 thoughts at any one given time, 7 collective thoughts together. And again, plus or minus, some can hold 9 and some can hold less than that. That's not a judgment. That's just how the brain works. And so it's neither good nor bad. But to recognize that we're taking in a lot on a basis that we don't even recognize. We're focusing on so many things, but there's so many other things, programs that are going, in the mind. So I always like to think of the brain, obviously, as a computer, internet type thing. And this is, what we're kind of like. My brain is like, an internet browser. 17 tabs are open. 9 of them are responding. Thousands of pop-ups are coming up. And where is that annoying music coming, right? That is our brain. I know it certainly is mine, and I don't think I'm alone out there. And I think it's pretty much safe to say that that we all have, those all that information coming in. And so with that being said, and only being able to hold those, 7 bits of information and all that coming in, we have those blips, we have those hiccups, we have those moments when we get challenged, with emotion. And to understand that pause is a very important thing for us just to operate with clarity and positive way to, work through our day rather than getting caught up in the muck of things that we often do through human conditioning. But the brain is, sort of designed like that. We have that human brain that, has evolved, but it still holds that fight or flight response automatic to protect us, right? So we're constantly aware of our surroundings. We're constantly aware of what's coming in. And a lot of times the brain, through our emotion, isn't sophisticated enough to know that, I might be thinking about something that is stressing me, or I might have so much on my plate and I'm overwhelmed. And how the brain perceives that, obviously, is through our own beliefs, our judgments, just our own conditioning, and then the conditioning that we're subjected to, at our workplace. And so how do we deal with all that? Well, pause really will help, because it takes a moment. when we, pause, we are connecting to ourself. We're connecting to that home center, and we're breathing. So we're actually creating, just the breath alone tells the body, oh, we're okay. Oh, it's time to slow down. Because when we're in fight and flight, it's run, or be eaten, right? So physiologically, when, we were back in cavemans, when we stopped to breathe, usually it meant the threat was over. So that alone will signal your brain to just breathe, then says, okay, wait a minute, maybe I don't have to be so hyper alert. And for myself, I'm learning to do that. I have autoimmune issues. My body is revved up already. And so for me, it's very important to look at this as part of my healing, and recognize how, who's in control of this mind that I have, and how do I work with it, right? And a lot of times, I'm very reactive. So I'm learning how to pause can help me to stop. Sometimes when we don't pause, we will use other techniques to drown that all out. And that's where addiction comes in, food addiction, drug addiction, so learning this art, and through prayer helping you, guide you through what this pause is all about, bringing in that spiritual mind to balance the physical mind, and pause with the prayer has been pretty good. I mean, I've been using it for a couple of days. I have been practicing it, not knowing exactly how to articulate what it is until this week when I go, oh, I see what you're trying, to show me to share this week. But the pause also, I look at it as, a way to connect to your GPS again, right? Like when we're driving in the car and there's traffic jams and there's other things that are happening, situations in traffic, and the GPS will say, hey, do you want to reroute? And so how I look as a pause is a way of recalculating, your GPS. Now, how I look at the GPS, actually for this particular time when I'm not in my car, but I'm here talking to you about pause and transformational prayer. GPS, I look at it as God's perspective satellite. So, I'm reaching to the highest pinnacle of that God source, to recalculate, bringing it down through my spiritual consciousness into this physical body, and calming the quieting the mind. Because remember, the mind here in the physical is all about that fight and flight response and how we're going to survive. And when we come here, we feel like we're separated from God, but we really aren't. And so it's these tools in prayer that we use to recognize, hey, we're not. We can't see God in the physical like we can, the bottle of water or my glasses, right? But there is a knowing, we have that GPS in us. And so the the breathing, the pause, it helps us go, let's look for that GPS. And it opens our awareness, right? And that's like really, really important. Yes. And yes, pause in the gap between words, thoughts, where spirit dwells. Thank you for reminding us. Well, thank you for reminding me, because I think I'm talking a little too fast and I need to breathe and pause. Very fast talker, sometimes because I'm nervous, and sometimes just lots of thoughts in my head. But anyway, the pause will stop the emotion. Will actually get you to breathe. And then I'll obviously make a physiological response change, which is really nice, because oftentimes, we will say things right in the heat of the moment, and then how do we take that back, right? Because once those words are out, our words are extremely powerful. Can't do a rerun. They've already been heard. They've already been taken in. And for me, I don't want that anymore in my life. I want to be very mindful of my words, and I understand the power that they wield. They can build someone up very quickly, and they can cut them to the core, right? And I don't want to be destructive with that. I mean, there's too many destructive words that are going around in our collective whole right now through politics and, everywhere, right? So being conscious of that and being a conscious human being here, with that, we can change the world when we catch that. Now, when we're saying things, not oftentimes do we even mean them. We are reacting to stress, being overwhelmed, so we don't even connect to our true self a lot of times when we're frustrated, right? So the pause actually helps guard who we truly are and who we put out into the world. So I feel it's like a little safety fail switch, when your furnace has got that red little switch there and you got to, turn it off, you're getting hot or heated or, emotional about anything. You're having anxiety, fear, worry, any of that. So practice the pause. When you're in doubt, pause. When you're angry, pause. When you're tired, pause. And when you're stressed, pause. And whenever you pause, pray, right? So you can reconnect with that divine GPS system that we all have inside of us. And practicing pause can be very uncomfortable. And when I saw this post, with this little picture here, it was a woman, I believe she was either from India, I can't remember. But just the way she talked with her language, because I love listening to other people speak in their language, especially when they're speaking English, because everything is much slower. It's beautiful. I just love it. And I love it because you can feel their heart. And it was just a great way how she talked about the importance of pause. And it was funny because, it's like it's seconds, everybody knows how divine works. You get these divine inspirations or things just, a book appears or whatever. And I was like, so how am I going to explain this? Or, what does this really mean to me? And so like seeing that, that's what I love about technology for those reasons, is that we are connected in such beautiful ways. And so it was really enjoyable to hear her explain that. It is posted on I can't remember her name right this minute, but if you look on Discovering Infinite Grace, and please like the page, that way you'll get notification when I put out reminders for the show. And so with that said, practicing pause can be uncomfortable. And, I was like, yeah, why don't I just do it naturally, right? And, it's somewhat of a defense mechanism not to practice pause, because then, it feels counterintuitive actually for the rudimentary brain, right? Because, if we pause, we could get eaten, or we aren't prepared for battle in that sense of human survival, right? That instinct that we have born within us in the physical body. And also to, it takes away, pause is absence of distraction. And a lot of times we use distraction as a coping mechanism and as a way, because there's nowhere to hide. When it's quiet, we can't hide from ourselves, and we're seen by others, right? And but most importantly, we're able to feel, see, and hear myself in those pauses. So although it might be uncomfortable, we've already talked about trust and patience in our intention. And when things get uncomfortable in the middle of the pause, immediately ask for help with that. Whether it's to ease the discomfort that you might feel, the emotion, or the confusion of all that, ask for clarity. Because once we start to reveal our true self, that's how transformation happens. So all of these things that, we're going through in these 55 weeks are components and pieces of us to bring into our awareness, right? Just because the more self-awareness we have, the more it comes up and we have the courage to look at it or peek at it. We let go of the shame and the guilt and all those things that we put on ourselves that make it so difficult for us to just be self-aware and to realize we are loved. And we are all going through this. None of us escape any of this. None of us really rise above any of that. The only way we rise above it doesn't make us better than anyone else, but we can rise above it when we start to learn to accept ourselves. And then in turn, we can learn to accept anything in the world, right? We realize through that self-awareness. So that's a great thing. But, call on the Holy Spirit to help you over the hurdle. of your it's the greatest opportunity you have for transformation, and to quiet that mind chatter that's, constantly putting that information in. We are like, amazing, amazing creations, right? From the spiritual sense, from the soul sense, from that higher consciousness, the spirit of us, to the physical. And then we look at the variety that we have. We're all unique. So when you look at that, it's amazing. But remember, what's revealed to us can be healed. And it also, the nice thing about pause is it's a temporary like suspension, like a disengagement from what is causing, any of your, like on that list there, doubt, anger. And what I find is that if we can just take that temporary suspension or pause, and disengage in that, maybe detach from what it is, like the goal of survival, or perhaps it's a defensive mechanism and you get angry and that's to protect yourself. But if we really get past that and really look truly what it is and what, the fear is behind that anger, that fear of not being in control or being alone or being kicked out of your tribe or, not belonging, not being enough, all those things, we have these reactions to, right? And you think about it, you have some help from the physical brain because, again, it's only trying to protect us. And then we have a lot of information, in the subconscious mind. So this temporary suspension of just being in the moment, the pause helps you stay in the moment. And you don't want to go back because, that usually brings anger, frustration. And you don't want to go forward in the moment because sometimes that can cause us anxiousness, worry. But to recognize everything in the past has happened for a reason to bring you to this moment. No matter, don't put any judgments on it. It prepares you for whatever moment you're in now. And then as you move through this moment, prepares you for the future and transformation. And everything is under control. God's got it. So connect with that GPS and trust that, you have that part of you. So the sacred prayer. Good morning, Minnie. I'm sorry. I am looking here. It's a little hard to do all these things. And morning, Jocelyn. Thank you, everybody, for joining. So the sacred prayer, sacred pause, it's that quickness that we feel in that moment, right? When we realize we're getting anxious. So I always ask God, when I'm getting that way, I usually ask the angels, I want to see a stop sign. And so mentally, in my mind's eye, whenever my emotions or I'm getting, out of balance, I will ask, please, give me the stop sign. So I've been doing that for 7 years. So I see the stop sign very often. Now, there are times when it's getting much better that I will ignore that stop sign just because I'm really heated or heightened in the moment. And but the awareness is, very important. And the thing you need to remember, just in neurons alone, when you're working with your brain, and a chiropractor had taught me this, and I think it's really important to just share it with the pause here. When he was helping me with my posture because, I have a lot of spinal issues and pain, and I've had some surgeries. And he said, when you're aligning, we slouch over, women tend to hide themselves. So with the slouching and of course, computers and everything that we do. So what he would say to me, put your shoulders back, remember. And every time that it came into my awareness that I was slouching or, had poor posture, if in that moment in time I decided not to redirect my muscles, right, my muscle memory, that I would build a stronger neuron for the ignoring part of it. So I think it's really important to recognize once you start a process of transformation and you are aware to have the discipline to stop yourself, put your shoulders back, perhaps listen to the stop sign because it is really all for your benefit. And that's just, getting out of your own way, right? Which sometimes I don't get out of my own way. I have to stop and say, hear the angels. Usually the angels will tell me, when I was learning spiritual boot camp, learning all my spiritual studies in real time. By the end of the day, I would repeat a lesson over and over and over again, and I would see the stop sign, and they would say, "Now, really, does a house have to fall on you?" Just to get my attention, to say, "Really, you're being so silly. This could be so much easier if you just got out of your own way and out of your own head, right, and out of your own chatter." So the pause is, great. So as this quickens in you, and you get this quickening, and you have your sacred pause, is what I'm calling it, because I do believe it's a physical pause and a sacred pause coming together to create peace, right? And it's what it will help you not fall down the road of addiction, or if you're in an addiction, that pause can actually help whether you decide to continue using the addiction to cope, right, and to quiet those heightened emotions and the fight and flight. But I'll say this, pause is much easier, because moments after for me, eat something or, do something to quiet myself, then comes the shame, then comes the guilt, then comes the unforgiveness, then comes the mental berating, then comes the unworthiness. So for me, the pause is powerful, because if I have, that pause, and I believe in that higher trust of knowing, and when I'm in that zone, there's no denying it. There's no magic about it. It is purely, it's divine grace. It is magical, but it's not the magic of an addiction such as food, or it's not about, the quick fix, the magic, but it is magical because it's full of grace, and it's transformation because I'm looking within and I'm looking up, and I'm not looking for all these outside of myself to help me. I don't need them. That is what my human conditioning has taught me, right? And with that, I'm letting that go. It's moving on out, and I can see it by the end of the 55 weeks. I hope, to see a whole different me. But I've been promised that, and I believe that. And so I hope that, that this journey helps you, right? Because that's the intention that I put out, to have people to walk with me, but also what my honesty and what the process that I use to come up with every week is truly in my intention, that divine connection. So we talked about all of those things. I just want to make sure I get them all in, and the sands of time are running out. Do you guys like Days of Our Lives? Oh, I'm not gonna know how to figure this. There we go. This is all backwards, guys. Days of Our Lives was it's still kind of my favorite. Used to run home from school so we could watch it. And then also too, Dorothy, right? Dorothy's running out of time. Auntie M, somebody has to come save her, but her friends do, right? So with that said, we're down to the wire here. And today, again, I use this Jesus Calling book. And with that, put this one down. There we go. I don't know. Now I'm on the other side. Isn't that great? So if God shuts a door, please stop banging on it. And that means when you're in those frantic moments, or you see the stop signs, or you're just, overcome with grief, worry, anger, fear, stop banging on that, take a pause, because whatever was behind it wasn't meant for you. And that's, for me, it's protection. It's God's protection. And he's closed that door, not only to protect you, but because he knew you were worth so much more. And for me, the pause is what gives me the control over my physical mind to stop. I can look and I can listen. but I have to stop. I have to just stop. But it's not, a horrible thing that you have to stop, because it's innate within all of us. There's a practical reason why. And so balancing heaven here on earth, it's through the pause, right? It's through that ability to learn how to pause. And that's a skill. And that's something practical that we have to sort of learn. So today is January 25th, and I love this book because it does follow my life. It makes me giggle sometimes when I read things, and for that morning. And this one is about, I believe, pause, actually. So it says, this is sort of going to be our prayer for the day. So just a little reflection. Let my love enfold you in the radiance of my glory. Sit still in the light of my presence and receive my peace. These quiet moments with me transcend time, accomplishing far more than you can imagine. Bring me the sacrifice of your time and watch to see how abundantly I bless you and your loved ones. Through the intimacy of my relationship, you are being transformed from the inside out. As you keep your focus on me, I form you into the one I desire you to be. Your part is to yield, or pause, to my creative work in you, neither resisting it or trying to speed it up, which is patience last week, right? Enjoy the tempo of God. Breathe life by letting me set the pace, or the pauses. Hold my hand in childlike trust. The way before you will open up stage by stage. And with that, I just would like to continue that prayer, just thanking for our creation, right? The Holy Spirit for our creation. The physical mind, the human mind is extraordinary, right? It's an extraordinary creation. Thank you for the spiritual mind, for the consciousness that has infinite possibilities, pathways, and experiences to reach the highest pinnacle of you, helping me to balance my physical mind with my spiritual mind, so I may be the bridge of heaven and earth. Your consciousness bringing it through us to this planet, breaking through all the illusion of the separation of you. Help me to recognize my need for pause within my physical brain. Help me to, within that space of pause, that I may connect with you for your divine guidance, that GPS, that God perspective satellite that allows me to walk in the light of God. The pause to feel you, to know you, to hear you in this deepest moment of pause. I pray. So that is today's, and I'm going to leave you with thank you very much for joining me, and I appreciate it. And I just want to say, I used to think, let me put this back up if I can. Here it is right here. I used to think prayer could change situations. What I've come to know is prayer changes me and I change the situations. And that's kind of like, I think, the theme for the 55 weeks. And I wish you all a wonderful day. Remember to pause and, let me know. Let me know the things that pause worked for you. And I hope everyone has a wonderful day and everyone has the possibility of discovering infinite grace. Amen. Thank you very much.